Yo guys, welcome back to another exciting tutorial. This is Fash and I'm so excited to be here. So today we want to take a look at what is classes and object in Python. So Python, because it's an object-oriented programming language, it is everything around Python is made up of objects. So you need to figure out how class actually correlates with object. Okay, so and that is for object to be created, you need a blueprint, that a design that will create the object for. Just imagine you want to build a house and you need a blueprint, like a plan that will tell you how exactly that particular house is going to look like. That's the first thing you need to do, that's the foundation. Okay, so all right, so basically when you are designing or creating an object, blueprint of every single object Python is actually creating, it's derived from a class. All right, good. So okay, so what I'm going to say right now is that let's see how we can actually create class. Okay, without no further ado, all right, creating a class, you need a keyword called class. Okay, a keyword called class. So let me delete this and show you how exactly it is been done. All right, I'm deleting this right now, I'm running it back again. So you have to come up with a class or keyword, say my name. Probably I want to say my name. I want to say let me say class 1. All right, so by the time you do this, you can see I terminate it with these particular quote, double quote. All right, good. So what I'm going to say is that, okay, I'm just going to say my name is Fash. Okay, my name is equals to Fash tech guy. All right, so exactly this is how to create class basically, but this is not the real life scenario of creating class. So if you now want to create an object for this particular class, you have to create a variable call first, and you have to create a variable first. So let me delete this, let me run this back. All right, let's run this, whether it's going to work. You can see no error. So if you want to create this, all you have to do is to create an object for it. This is a class. Let's go to see how we can create an object. All right. All right, so what I'm saying in this is that let's just create an object. So creating an object, let's just say, for example, let's call it obj1 object 1, because you have to create a variable, right? So creating this, this particular class name, just copy it and paste it in there and write open and close brackets. That's basically how to create an object. Okay, so the moment you do this, you have successfully created an object. So now if you don't want to probably use this particular variable, this particular name, all you have to do is just to say, okay, fine, because it was successfully created an object, just say obj1 dot what is the name of the variable inside that class name, copy it, paste it in there. That's all. That's as simple as that. All right, but at this particular time, let's see whether this code you probably run or give us a couple of errors. So we can see Fash tech guy was displayed because the object has been created. Just as simple as that. All right, so creating a class, you have to use a class keyword and name of that class. Whatever you want to have inside that class, you put it there. So, and you can create an object by creating a variable that is equals to the name of the class coupled with open and close bracket. So once you do that, if you don't want to use any element inside that class or item inside that class, you can use the object variable that is successfully created dot the name of whether the variables, whether objects, whether methods or whatever. So what I just wanted to understand here is that classes will contain methods, to contain properties such as variables. So when you create objects can actually use all the item inside that class. Okay, so let's move on. There's one thing I really want to show you. Okay, so do you know that the above example is not applicable in the real life scenario? True, it is not applicable. All right, so if you really want to think about classes and object and how it works, you need to take a look at the init function. So what is init function? All classes have functions called init functions, okay, which is always executed when the class is being initiated. Without no further ado, let me show you something real quick. And you're going to actually love this. All right, okay, fine. Let's take, for instance, now imagine I just want to create a blueprint, which is a class in short, that will contain the first name and the last name, and probably I really want to print out the name and the first name and the last name. All right, so how can I use the init function? Look at this class, just look at this, okay, code. Look at this code. All right, look at this code once. Okay, let me just cut it back and let me delete it back. Okay. All right, so let's say for instance you want to create a class of a person that will have the first name and the last name. Person, you can see. So now you need an init function. Don't forget, anytime you want to type our function, we need to make use of def. So init function is double underscore, and you type init and close, use another double underscore. All right, so once you do this, you need to use a self. So this particular self is just like what we normally use to how am I going to say it? We normally use, so we use it alongside with our argument. What am I saying in a sense? Let's say this is first name and this is what? Last name. All right, so if you want to reference all this, use them together with self. So you can use anything, but the naming convention of the way we use Python is whatever articles or blogs, books that you're going to be reading, you're going to be saying this self. So now, because it's a function, that's why I just have to use that code. All right, now if you now want to refer back to all these variables, which is the first name and the last name, so use this particular first one, which is self. So you say self dot name, first name equals first name. Don't worry, just take a look, and say self again dot last name equals last name. All right, so this, what you've done right now is that you successfully reference this. Use this self to reference the first name and the last name. So that is it. So the last thing you're going to do is that if you don't want to give this thing value, you need to create an object for it. So okay, if you want to do that, you can see I'm not indenting, I'm outside this init function. Just take a note. All right, let's say I just want to call it p1, which is going to be the object name, object variable. So I can copy this class name, paste it in there, and I have open and close brackets, and I want to say my first name is Fash and my last name is Ujulari. All right, Ujulari. So once you do this, you can see that this has been created. Okay, sorry, I just have to delete this. Sorry, because this is what has been there before. Okay, let me just delete this. All right, so good. So let's run the code and let's debug. All right, good. So what we're seeing inside this here is that I say Fash self the first name and last name. First name is not defined. All right, what I'm going to do right now is that I am going to run this code. Let's do some kernel run all, so that I'm not going to have issues. All right, so what I see is that this first name is not the same as this, and this last name is not the same. So I have to ensure that they are the same. That's typographical error. So you can see first name and last name. So this code is correct. So let's say for instance you now need this Fash, so which is your first name. So I can easily say p1 dot I can easily call this first name. I can say p1 dot first name or p1 dot last name, just as simple as that. All right, so okay, let's take a look. You can see I was able to call the first name, and I can easily call the last name too, referencing the object p1 dot this is the last name. Boom, it's as simple as that. All right, you can see, just as simple as that. All right, good. So now that is that on that. Just understand the fact that you need to learn the concept of self, using it to reference all these names before you're able to use them. And if you are creating an object, you can set those values inside this object like that. So now what if you want to create a method inside this particular class that you want to use later? So that's the next thing we want to take a look at. So creating a method simply means, you know, having some method inside that particular function. So these I'm not going to write it because of time. You understand that we're able to create init functions and we're able to reference. This one is referencing the name and the age. So you can create a div, call it age declaration, and use this self inside this particular function. If you don't use it, that means you are not referencing it to this particular class. So I call it person2. So my name is self.name. So because I've used self here and self is here to reference this particular name, and anytime you want to call the function, this is how to create the object, and anytime you want to call the function, because it is a function inside this class, so you can use its object, which is the p2.h_deck, to use to declare it. And anytime you run this particular code, it's going to what? Declare the h for you. Okay, all right. So fine, I want to use name, declare name. Let's just say name, not h. I want to say name, declare name deck. Okay, so if you now run this code, let's run the code. You can see my name is Adi is being displayed. So just as simple as that. All right, let me just type it if probably you're having the feeling that you don't really get this right. All right, let's say I have what? I create a class, I call it person2, and I have to create a what? A def of what? Init, because I need it. So I use self, because, and I use name and the h. So by the time I do that, I have to say self is referring to those name, self dot opt. Right, so sorry, this is what I will do so that it will be easy. Sorry, so that we'll not have issues. All right, say self dot name equals name, and self dot age equals age. So, and I need to create a div that say name declaration, and these name declarations will have a self. So I can easily say print my name is, you just say self dot name. All right, so once you do this, let's create an object for this. You can create an object, and if you're creating an object, you can just call it p2, and don't forget you have to use this particular class. And you say fine, what is the name? You can say Fatai, and the age is 39. all right. Okay, so once you do this, you can probably easily run the code. You can see it runs. So if you now probably need to call the function, you can say p2.nameDeck, and let's see what's gonna happen. Wow, my name is Fatai was displayed. So this is how to use a function inside a class, and once you create your object, you can actually use its function. So this is what I just wanted to understand for now. I don't want to combine too much of technical jargons, so that you understand the genesis and the basics, so that you'll be able to relate with it. So this is where I'm actually going to stop for now. In the next tutorial, we're going to dive into what is known as inheritance. And if you're enjoying this, drop a comment in the class and let's have some fun. Okay, thank you, and can't wait to have you in the next tutorial. Bye.